The Braves' 4-game winning streak was snapped at Citi Field last night, and Sunday Night Baseball has not been very kind to the Atlanta Braves, and this one was deja vu all over again with A.J. Minter. Once again, you had a down closer in Raisel Iglesias because he had pitched. You also were down Joe Jimenez. They turned to A.J. Minter to close the game in the ninth, and for the second time in 2 weeks and in only 2 save opportunities, he gives up a walk-off 2-run homer, this time to the most annoying guy on the planet, and Brandon Nimmo. It's just like that guy owns the Atlanta Braves. And he owns it in such a quirky, dorky way that you're just like, God, I hate this guy. But listen, if he was on your team, he's one of my favorite players that I hate because he is just a pesky guy that's good. If he wasn't good, no one would care. Yep. He owns the Atlanta Braves.
They don't boo nobodies.
Yeah, the biggest thing here, though, is obviously, should A.J. Minter be closing games? And I don't really like getting on Brian Snitker for turning to your best available reliever to close the game when your other 2 best relievers are down. But there is something to be said. I mean, listen, the guy just has not had success as a closer. Like, for whatever reason, he's just not good. And this isn't just a new thing. This is something that when they tried him out a closer early in his career, he was demoted to Gwinnett. He really found his footing. All the career stats point to him not being a good closer. And you keep putting him out there. Now, I don't know where you really would have turned. Like,
what are you going to do?
There's no sexy option. It's like, oh, would you have left Dylan Lee in there for the ninth? That's not really great. No. Like, I don't, and Pierce Johnson's on the IL, so your other 3 best relievers are out there. I don't really know where you turn. Maybe Jesse Chavez.
But he was used earlier.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, but you set it up that way or whatever. But, listen, there's no good options. You can't manage like it's an October baseball for 162 games. That's just not going to happen. It's unfortunate. I understand what people are saying about A.J. Minter. I'm interested to see if they go back to that well again, because it is one of those things like fool me once, fool me twice. All right, now we're on fool me 740 times with this guy closing games. That I understand where the arguments are coming from. And I do think that it should be a better thought out plan, especially this is a whole 3-game series. Why was Raisel Iglesias losing a 4-run game the night earlier if you thought you were going to need him the next day, especially when Pierce Johnson is down. So there are arguments to be made that are questionable, but listen, one questionable decision over 162 games, I think you're going to be okay.
Yeah, I think that my biggest issue with all of this is the ignorance of Braves fans of ignoring everything that you just mentioned, that he was the best reliever available. And whether you want to argue, the setting of 8th, 9th, 7th setup, closing, whatever, I think that's a little trivial. I guess you could argue the pressure, is a factor, though I really disagree. A.J. Minter's pitched on the biggest stages and has delivered on the biggest stages when the lights were brightest. Now, I'm not saying he was closing games for the Braves in the World Series, but he was up there on the biggest stages and he delivered. And I think, it's a similar vein as Matt Olson, he's buckling under the pressure. He needs to move down in the lineup. A.J. Minter was our best reliever available. Now, if you want to argue, could he have set it up differently on the days, versus what you were saying, Raisel Iglesias the day before, so you could have him in this game? I get that. But if you're just talking about game 3 on Sunday night versus Jesse Chavez behind A.J. Minter, we would all be waking up this morning and going, what in the hell, if there was the same result, what in the hell was Brian Snitker thinking putting a 50,000-year-old Jesse Chavez, who has, granted, had a ton of success for the Atlanta Braves, after A.J. Minter, who is one of the best relievers on the planet, not just the Braves, on the planet. And I get the results. The stats are impossible to argue, but I'm of the opinion that you use your best guys at the best times, and that's what Brian Snitker did. And I saw a stat. What's more troubling than anything was A.J. Minter has a 111 expected batting average again with his cutter, and the slugging percentage against is nearly 800. So when he misses with his cutter, he misses really, really bad. Maybe that's a bigger deal than if he's pitching in the 8th or the 9th. I think this is a big nothing burger, and it's hilarious to see Braves fans squirm. That's what I feel about it.
Well, I mean, it's a nothing burger because it's not going to happen when you have all your guys. So
yeah.
But at the end of the day, it is whatever.
Raisel Iglesias is going to pitch every single 9th inning in October. That's all that matters.
Rafael Iglesias also was coming in with a no-hitter on the line, so that's probably why they went to their best reliever, because they did kind of listen. Like, you could say, oh, the no-hitter doesn't matter, but it kind of matters. It's pretty sick.
You want to get it for your guy.
We haven't had one in our entire lifetime, so I think that also probably played a factor while he was in there in a four-run game, rather than going with someone else, maybe a lesser guy in a 4-run situation. And obviously gives up the 2-run homer to J.D. Martinez. And guess what? What if that 2-run homer had come the next night and we would have lost with Rafael Iglesias? Yes, I don't think it's a huge deal, but it is something. It's something that you can make an argument about. And I'm honestly just interested to see if they go back to Mentor in the night.
I feel like they will.
I don't think they will. I'll go out and say I don't think they will. As long as if Pierce Johnson is there or Joe Jimenez, I think
obvious. Okay.
I think one of those guys will normally be available.
Yes, I agree. I don't think that if he has options, if Brian Snitker has options in terms of maybe Iglesias on short rest or Jimenez is back, Pierce Johnson is available, whatever it might be, I obviously think they'll go in that direction. But if we go into a similar situation where AJ Minter is the best reliever available, he is going to get the call in the ninth because Brian Snitker is just that kind of manager. I truly believe that.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a stick by your guy kind of manager.
I don't think this situation will come up again. So let's just hope that it doesn't come up again, and we have to see AJ Minter give up another home run. There were other things that happened in this series, and they focus around Max Fried, who has truly turned into one of the best pitchers in baseball. Again, I think we all expected that to come, but I thought it was funny, not just from Braves fans that are always kind of typically overreactionary to things, but even the national media. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that I read articles that were so worried about the Braves rotation, which, by the way, has been arguably the best in baseball over the last month. Credit to Bryce Elder, Ronaldo Lopez, Max Fried, Charlie Morton, and Chris Sale. I mean, every time those guys step on the bump, I know people were up in arms about one bad Bryce Elder start. But if you think really back, like where was the last bad start outside from any of these guys outside of that Bryce Elder start? I mean, it's been truly an incredible run for an entire 4-week, 1-month stretch. I mean, I'm thinking back to a couple starts ago. Ronaldo Lopez gave up 3 runs over 5 innings. That's like the second worst start we've had over a month stretch. I mean, Morton has been unbelievable. Sale looks like a Cy Young candidate. Max Fried looks like a Cy Young candidate. Like, if these guys keep pitching this way, this Braves team, because eventually the offense, which continues to struggle, it's going to pick up. I can bet my entire house on that. You can bet that it will pick up, especially as we get into June and stuff like that in these summer months. But this pitching staff, unreal. Max Fried, unreal. Chris Sale, every time out, whoever toes the rubber, it's been just a great experience to watch him pitch.
Yeah, I mean, they've been shouldering the load of this team, and it's not even close. I mean, the offense is not carrying its weight. Given the expectations coming into the season, it was one of the best offenses in the history of this sport, a sport that's been around hundreds of years, and they're clearly not carrying their weight. And that's baseball, and the rotation is picking up the slack. That's why Alex Anthopoulos is one of the best in the business, is because he didn't leave any stone unturned. He tried to answer all the questions, and through this, like, if you're concerned coming into the offseason where most people's was the rotations, that your concerns should be squashed, eased, whatever you want to say. All of the concerns coming into the year have been answered. It's been the ones that we're kind of banking on. We're banking on the offense to be a strength. It has looked sketchy so far.
Yeah, I mean, imagine where this team would be with Spencer Strider. I mean, it would be.
We're also on like 106 win pace, and everybody is acting like we suck.
It would be
crazy.
It would be ridiculous if this team had Spencer Strider, because it's just been a spectacle to watch, and I would be foolish. I would be a fool not to comment on the bullpen too, because it's not just the relievers. I mean, AJ Minter, outside of those 2 ninth-inning blunders, has been as good as any setup man in baseball, right next to 2 of his teammates in Pierce Johnson and Joe Jimenez. Rafael Iglesias has been a lights-out closer for the Atlanta Braves. Jesse Chavez is Mariano Rivera. Aaron Bummer is turning the corner, and you can start to see how nasty that stuff is. Like, and not to mention, we talk about the depth all the time. A couple of guys we haven't even seen yet, in Dasbel Hernandez and Ken Giles and stuff like that. Really, the only guy that hasn't pitched well on this entire pitching staff is Tyler Matzik. And it's okay, Matzik. It's all right, man. 2021, you are forever a folk legend. We will never get mad at that. But the entire pitching staff, not just the starters, not just the relievers, a combination, has just been unbelievable against a lot of good lineups. I mean, the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Diamondbacks, the Astros,
we've had a hellacious run against some of the best teams in baseball.
Yeah, and then you go and play the Cubs this week, and I think I saw something. The Braves have the second easiest among teams that are currently, have like a chance at the playoffs, I would say, not the crappy teams. They have the second easiest schedules. The Phillies, who have quite literally played bottom feeders. And listen, I'm not going to knock on anyone for beating the teams that put in front of you, because that's just at the end of the day what you're supposed to do over 162 games. And that's something that teams like the Phillies have really struggled with, which is why they end up with 90 wins instead of 100. They've beaten the teams put in front of them. They also have the hardest schedule the rest of the way. So 2-game lead. It's May. This pitching staff has looked unbelievable. The bats will eventually get hot. Everyone in Braves country should feel very encouraged. And now we got a nice little homestead against the Cubs and the Padres. Two good teams, but Truist Park is a place where the Braves have played unbelievable baseball this season. So it should be a fun week.
105 or 6 win pace the Atlanta Braves are currently on, and all Braves country can really do, or at least a vast majority of them, is pick apart what is wrong. Whether it's Bryce Elder struggles here, if it's, Matt Olson this, it's Ronald Acuna that, it's Michael Harris this. We're on a 105 win pace, guys. All is good. This is a marathon, not a sprint. They're going to get it figured out. We need to start panicking when there's about a month left in the season. That's not now.
Yeah, never panic. Never panic.